What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Final Pick Podcast. I'm your host, Zachary, and I'm here as always with my other co-host today.
What's up, guys? It's Van.
And we have a new type of video, right? New type of topic today. NFL season obviously somewhat started yesterday. We had finally some football after 6 months, almost no football. It was preseason. It was Hall of Fame. The only person worth a damn that played was pretty much Josh Jacobs. Actually, Travon Walker played. There's some other guys that played. Uh, but it was football nonetheless. It might have been sloppy, might have been bad, but it was football. So we could be grateful for that. But for many people, this is the start of fantasy football season. And we like fantasy football. I like fantasy football. You like fantasy football, right?
I mean, it's okay. I'm not very good at it, but I like to think I know a pretty good amount about it.
And I feel like, a lot of people are getting ready to prepare for the drafts. If you're in a fantasy league, please don't draft until after the end of preseason. But start, working on who you like, filling out your little draft boards, if you will. And we're going to go ahead and try to help you guys out today. We're going to be going over our quarterbacks and tight ends, our rankings. We're going to be going over basically top 12 because a lot of people have 12-team leagues, usually not too much more than that. And we might give you guys some sleepers that we like. And without further ado, let's go ahead and start off with the quarterbacks. Quarterbacks. It's pretty much the least important position of the main four between quarterbacks, running backs, wide receiver, and tight ends.
Yeah.
My personal belief is, if you don't draft a QB early, I would wait till like 10th, 11th round even to pick a QB, fill up on running backs and wide receivers. But if you do want to be the guy to take QB early, we got you guys covered. We got you guys.
11th round?
Huh?
10th, 11th round?
I wait. I wait on my QBs.
That's you, man. Everybody's got their own little preference, but I'm not going to hate on it, but definitely not wait till the last round for my QB.
Well, if I'm in all honesty, I'm fine with the 12th QB I have ranked as my starting QB. So if I'm the last one to take QB, I'm fine with
it. I'm not.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's go ahead and start. So my number one QB fantasy this year is Josh Allen. Josh Allen, he was number one last year in points per game, and I think it's going to be number one again. Obviously, they have a new offense, so we don't know if it's going to be an exact replica of last year, but the QB coach got promoted to offense coordinator, so I think it's going to be very similar. They were very pass-heavy last year, and Josh Allen has a great running floor. He had the third most attempts, third most yards rushing for QBs, and obviously with his arm, I think he's a no lock. He should be the first QB taken fantasy this year, and he's going to be a guaranteed top 3 finish, I believe.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. I had Josh Allen number one as well, and everything you already said, you already kind of explained it. He's going to do what he did last year. He's a perfect fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, obviously in fantasy, fantasy doesn't always correlate with the real life, right? But against somebody with this talented of an arm, and the crazy thing is he was number one last year, but he really did. I'm not going to say he didn't have a great year, but compared to the year before, he definitely didn't have as great of a year as he did in 2020. But to still be able to produce like he did in fantasy, he's like I said, he should be a lock for a top 3. He'll probably repeat as number one unless somebody has some type of crazy year like Mahomes in 2019, was it? Or Lamar in his MVP season.
Yeah.
Like he should probably be number one.
No, for sure. Yeah, he should be number one, and he's getting drafted like he's number one. The X rank right now on Yahoo Fantasy has him going like in the 30s. I know you'd never think about it, but he's a guy that if you get him with I don't know, like it's kind of a rare thing, but to get him with Stephon Diggs like I did personally last year, it's a fun thing. That's a crazy stack, and Josh Allen's gonna carry some teams. Make no mistakes.
Yeah, I personally, he's going about 3rd round. I wouldn't take QB that early.
I wouldn't.
But if you're going to take QB that early, Josh Allen's definitely the guy that you're probably going to take. Mm-hmm. And of course, we're talking about just PPR. PPR doesn't really matter for QBs, but we are talking everything to account in a PPR league and a normal flex league. We're not talking about any super flex leagues or 2 quarterback leagues because that I'm not.
Or the bonuses, there's bonus leagues where like they hit a certain amount of yards and they get 30 points. Like,
yeah,
I've learned
make sure I'm being clear with that because if this was a super flex league or 2 QB league, like I would have a completely different stance on when you take QBs, but we're considering a 1 QB league when we're talking about this. And number 2, I have Justin Herbert as my number 2 fantasy QB. I believe he also was
Wow.
number 2 last year for fantasy points per game. And when you consider they have a very pass heavy offense and a very high scoring offense,
Hmm.
I'm I mean, he doesn't have the rushing floor some other guys, but he can move, he can run if he needs to. So, considering the fact that he's going to easily have over 4,500 yards, he's going to get a lot of throwing attempts because he's got Keenan now, he's got Mike Williams. Austin Eckler's more of a receiving back than a runner. I think he's going to be in for another big year.
At number 2, I do not have Justin Herbert. I have Lamar Jackson. I just think he's in great shape. Um, he doesn't necessarily have the weapons, but you always have to remember he does have a top 3 tight end. He does have Rashad Bateman, who's going to be very good. And he's got the most important. He's got his legs. I think Lamar is gonna. I'm gonna guess that Lamar has another MVP caliber season. I really do think he's gonna be very good this year.
Yeah, Lamar, he's going to have rushing floor. He's going to be obviously week to week fantasy relevant. I'll explain more why I have him where I'm ranked when I get to it.
Mm.
Um, but I'm going to go. Do you have anything more to say about Lamar?
No, not much more to say about Lamar. We can talk about it later.
Yeah.
You want to get into 3 for me?
Yeah. Who do you got for 3?
Justin Herbert. For the same reasons you said. I have number 3, Justin Herbert.
Yeah, my number 3, I have Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, in my opinion, best quarterback in football. He did lose Tyreek Hill, which is a loss. But, I mean, he still has Travis Kelce. I think Juju's going to be in for a bounce back year. And I'll just say this right now. I mean, I'll say this before we get to wide receivers. And it's a sleeper for me. I love Sky Moore. Sky Moore is going to be an absolute monster. And he's got him as a weapon. Marcus Valdes-Scantling is going to be a good weapon. He has some good weapons still there. I mean, the running back situation is not very good. I'm not a Clyde Edwards-Helaire fan. So they're going to be in a very pass-heavy offense. Defense still isn't the absolute best, so they will need to be throwing a lot. Because that's one thing I didn't mention with the other 2 QBs. The one concern I do have with them is obviously the Bills have one of the best, if not best, defense in the league. So if they have leads a lot, Josh Allen's not going to be throwing as much. But back to Mahomes, they should be throwing a lot. Very pass heavy. And obviously, like I said, Mahomes like the best QB in the NFL. He could easily go for 5,000 yards and 40 plus touchdowns, even though he might not have the same rushing floor as some of these other guys.
I hear you on it, and Mahomes. Yeah, I agree with you. As terms of skill wise, Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. Make no mistake about it. Arm talent is elite, never been seen before. So I don't hate on your pick, but I have Mahomes at what you'll see later. I have Mahomes way further down, not way further down, but a little further down.
Yeah. And who'd you got at number 4?
Number 4. So this is a player that I think I truly believe could come QB1 in fantasy terms. He's not a top 5 receiver skill wise. I want to make that very clear. But we are talking about fantasy tonight. So number 4, I have Jalen Hurts, Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling who you're going to say. I do have him a little bit lower. But go ahead and explain why you have him.
So last year, he's not the most accurate quarterback. But last year, you'd watch a lot of Eagles games, and he was probably one of the most consistent players to drop 25. And as far as on the stat sheet, you don't see it in like this guy's elite. But for fantasy-wise, to have a guy that drives down the field with Devontae Smith and Quez Watkins as his main targets, you're adding A.J. Brown to that this year. Okay?
Don't disrespect Dallas Goedert, though.
No disrespect to Dallas Goedert, but let's be honest. Jalen Hurts' weapons last year were bottom 10 in the league. There's no question about it. His best receiver was a rookie. Okay? So, just like somebody else on this list. But Jalen Hurts, this year, they gave him A.J. Brown. The O-line's getting a lot healthier and a lot better. There's no reason. I don't think skill-wise he's a top 5 quarterback, not by any means. But for fantasy, he tends to get down to the red zone and rush it in. So that's why I feel like, especially adding these deep threat weapons, there's no reason for him. I think he's going to finish top 2 quarterbacks. Personally, I think 1, but I think he's going to finish top 2 quarterbacks in fantasy.
So if you think that, shouldn't he be a little higher on your list then?
That's just based off like I want to put him 1, but I don't want to look fucking retarded. You get what I'm saying?
So basically, you see the big enough risk factor that you can't put him any higher.
100%, because skill wise he ain't there.
Yeah.
But as far as what he did last year, plus what was added on this offseason, he's going to finish top 2 in my mind. I'm saying that. The reason why I have him 4 is because the guys ahead of him are just way more elite level talents.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has the rushing floor, which
Yes.
you need. My number 4, I mean, this is a little high for him, maybe, compared to some people, but I do have the reigning AFC champion, Joe Burrow, and here's why.
Wow.
When the Bengals got hot last year, it's when they started to go very pass heavy last year. And Joe Burrow, late in the season, caught on absolute fire with Jamar Chase. He's got T. Higgins, a top 3 wide receiver duo right there, and Tyler Boyd in the slot as well. I mean, I think that they're going to continue trying to ride the hot hand with Joe Burrow, and they're going to be a very pass-heavy offense this year. I think Joe Mixon will definitely still get his touches, but the offense in general, I mean, I think they have a really good chance of being the number 1 offense in general with yards and points because how high-powered they are. Like I said, when they caught streak, you saw Joe Burrow get what did he do against the Ravens last year? He went absolutely insane.
But here's the thing, though. He went crazy, and Jamar Chase went fucking insane.
Yeah, and that was all late into the season. They rode that hot streak into the playoffs. I think they're going to be very similar, and he's going to be absolutely on fire. It's like 4,500 yards, 35-plus touchdowns. And, I mean, he might not have the same floor as some of these guys have below him, but, I mean, if you're going for potential and you know that he has that chemistry with Jamar Chase, right? Because some of these other guys also, I mean, we don't know how they're going to be with a new wide receiver 1. Like Jalen Hurts. I mean, obviously it's an upgrade to A.J. Brown, but he hasn't played with him yet. So we got to see. With Lamar Jackson, he lost his wide receiver 1. We have to see, so on and so forth. Kyler is going to be without Hopkins for a while, except Amari Cooper gone with Dak,
Yeah, I feel you. As far as Joe Burrow being there, like I feel like it's because we see the teams differently. Like we already talked about in our division power rankings, I don't think the Bengals will make the playoffs this year. I think they're a one-year wonder. That's just personally me, and that's not a knock on Joe Burrow. I know he's a great player. But as far as fantasy-wise, no, I don't have him top 5. So we're on 5, correct?
We are now on 5. You just gave your 4, right? 4 was Jalen Hurts.
Number 5, I have a player you have already went over, Patrick Mahomes. Skill-wise, he's the best quarterback in the NFL. No ifs, ands, or buts. The weapons is a hassle for me to work with. That he still has the best tight end in football. He has Travis Kelce. He still has Clyde, which I don't have the same stance on Clyde as you. I think Clyde's going to be very good this year. He had a major surgery before the season started, and he told the media, of course, you always say when you have a bad season what was wrong. You can't believe all that stuff, but from what I've heard is he had a major surgery before the season started. Mahomes, he has MVS now. He has Juju, but you don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. And I know Sky Moore is going to be very good, but let's make no mistake. One play, for instance, week 1 against the Browns, throwing that ball up, it wasn't a great ball. It was just a floater. Tyreek Hill being Tyreek Hill. Moved his body, adjusted, completely got away from the corner. It was a stupid floater, caught it, and took it 80 yards. Tyreek is going to be a big impact on Patrick Mahomes.
It will be a big impact on Tua.
Oh, we'll get to that later, Zach.
Are we?
I am.
Oh, boy. All right. You got anything else to say about Patrick Mahomes?
He's a very good player, but fantasy-wise, I wouldn't take him in front of the 4 guys I named.
Number 5, right? Number 5 we're on. I have Lamar. The reason
number 6. You said number 5, didn't you?
No.
You said Joe Burrow.
Hold on. No, Joe Burrow was my number 4. Jalen Hurts was your number 4.
You have Joe Burrow at 4?
Yeah, I had Josh Allen, Herbert, Mahomes, Burrow.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my number 5 is Lamar. He's got the rushing floor. He's going to be a safe QB. He's got the rushing floor, but like we mentioned, he doesn't have the weapons. He's got Mark Andrews, but he's not going to be a big explosive play type guy. Rashad Bateman, I hope he could be the number 1 receiver. I gotta see it before I can believe it. I mean, who does he really have after him? Right?
He has fucking all.
I mean,
Devin Duvernay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Devin Duvernay's there. I'm definitely forgetting somebody. He definitely has somebody else.
Prochet.
James Prochet. Yeah, but I mean, he doesn't have the weapons there that I can't put him much higher because, I mean, the rushing floor, like I said, is there. Is he going to get a lot of the touchdowns, right? He's going to be running in for a lot of touchdowns. Mark Andrews going to get a lot of touchdowns. But the receivers, are they going to be threats to get touchdowns? Is he going to pass for a lot of yards? It's going to be a very run-heavy scheme. Mark Andrews, like we keep saying, is going to get a lot of the targets. But how much of a factor is J.K. Dobbins back going to be? Is Gus Edwards back going to be? Being able to have those running backs back in order to hand off? Are they going to steal a lot of touchdowns from Lamar? I just can't trust the receiver weapons in the pass game in order to put him any higher than these other guys. But he's going to have a much better floor than like a Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes because of his rushing ability.
I hear you on that, Zach, and I understand he doesn't have the greatest receiving weapons, but his O-line, for now, knock on wood, is completely healthy. He has Ronnie Stanley at the left tackle, Linderbaum, Zeitler. He's going to be able to use whatever receivers he has. He's going to be able to. He's going to be able to escape the pocket, create time for himself, and get these receivers that aren't open in the first 5 seconds open in the next 10 seconds. It's just going to be. I don't agree with you on. I don't.
All right, but I don't think that translates to fantasy. I think it's going to
I
translate.
think it does. I think it does though.
Because
I think he could get. He's a quarterback that can get his receivers open.
He can get them open, but at the same time, if I'm going to go for someone safe, I can wait to get someone safe. Someone like Burrow, Mahomes, right? They have a lot of potential. If I'm going to take someone high at QB, I'm going for that potential. Like I can take the floor with Lamar. Lamar's got a great floor. But if I'm taking someone higher, I'm taking someone with sky high potential. I'm taking that early.
Here's the thing, though. You're talking about players that can throw people open. Lamar's not going to throw somebody open. Lamar's going to run and use his legs to get people open, which is deadly in fantasy. So the fact, can I be completely honest? I think the fact that you have Lamar at 5 is disrespectful, fantasy-wise. That's just my opinion. Like you made a whole TikTok about how they're disrespecting Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, that's Lamar in real life, though. I mean, the only person that I named above Lamar that had less fantasy points per game last year, like per game, is Burrow. But there's more people below him that had more fantasy points per game. So, like, I mean, this was with Hollywood Brown, which obviously he has some drop issues. Lamar should have had more fantasy points last year. But, I mean, if we're going based off last season, I'm not going total points because he missed games. Points per game, he's lower than a QB5, if you're saying it disrespect-wise.
All right, well, let's get into 6. We're not going to talk about that. We'll see at the end of the year how they end up. And I guess we just have a different because I have a feeling Lamar is going to be a top 3 in the MVP voting. 6, I have Kyler Murray. I'm not crazy high on him. It just he has legs, and he's a very he's a very able passer. So you can't go wrong with Kyler Murray in your draft, I think.
I think my 6 is going to be kind of shocking because
you're another shocking one.
I don't think any of them spent.
No, you had Burrow very high. The guy just had something removed, and he's in a cart right now. Don't get me wrong. I know he's going to be playing, but that's crazy.
But, I mean, I don't know how surprised this is because this guy was the 3rd best overall QB in fantasy last year. But it is the guy who just turned 45, Tom Brady.
I don't think that actually.
He doesn't have the rushing floor, obviously. But, I mean, he's coming off. What did he have last year? He had like 5,000 yards. 40-plus touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that.
The greatest of all time. Also, fuck him, because
I mean,
even when he's not in my team's division, the guy's losing me first-round picks.
Yeah, exactly. But, like, Tom Brady, he's not going to have the rushing floor, like I said. But, I mean, he hasn't stepped. He has Mike Evans, I believe. I think he just hurt a hamstring, nothing serious. Chris Godwin practiced today, which is great news for the Bucs, which means he might be
crazy. They should not rush him back, though. That's really soon.
They shouldn't, but I mean, he's likely going to be playing sometime the first month, if not week 1, right? Based on how quick it seems like he's coming back. You get Russell Gage in the slot, who's a great slot receiver. Julio Jones, let's see if he can create some magic again in the NFC South. I mean, there's a bunch of weapons there. Obviously, no more Gronk. They got Cameron Brate at tight end. Don't know if there's anybody else worth mentioning at tight end.
They have Auden out of Washington.
Oh, they got Auden?
And Kyle Rudolph.
That's right, they did sign Kyle Rudolph. Yeah, so I mean, we'll see how Rudolph is there. I did like Kate Auden coming out. But Leonard Fournette, I don't know if he's going to have as much production last year because I really like the rookie running back they got, Rashid White, right?
Mm-hmm. Rashad
He's a
White, yeah.
Rashad White. He looks like he's going to be a monster on third downs.
He is going to be a fucking monster, dude. He's a sleeper in fantasy. If Fournette goes down, he's going to go stupid.
Yep. So, I mean, he's got a bunch of receiving weapons. They'll be a very pass-heavy team. Like I said, the floor might not be there, but if I'm taking a QB high, and also, I mean, I went for Tom Brady last year. He might have screwed me in my first round playoff last year, but he was phenomenal.
Carried you through those playoffs.
I mean, 5 points in the playoff game isn't acceptable to me.
Sorry. Huh? Is my mic loud?
You should be fine.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, Tom Brady, he's going to pass for a lot of yards. He's going to have some very high-scoring games, some like 400, 4-touchdown games. I mean, you can't go wrong with him.
And that defense is going to set him up perfectly. That defense is still monstrous. I'll just say 7 really quick because you said yours was a shocker at 6, Tom Brady, correct?
Yeah, Tom Brady at 6.
I had 7, Tom Brady. So we see the same Tom Brady. Tom Brady's gonna be very good.
Yeah. But yeah, my number 7 was Kyler. I think you already mentioned Kyler, right?
Kyler 6. We swapped 6 and 7.
Yep. So I mean, Kyler. My main issue with him is it always seems like he dips past like Thanksgiving time, right? So when fantasy football actually matters in the playoffs.
And when Call of Duty comes out is what you're saying?
I mean, coincidence, right? But I mean, also he's without DeAndre Hopkins, right? DeAndre Hopkins not being there is going to be a big loss. You got Hollywood, who I don't know if anything's going to happen to him. He got arrested. I don't think he's going to deal with anything, but I mean, who knows?
No, he won't.
So, I mean, Kyler Murray's got a great rushing floor, just like we've mentioned with Lamar, like you've mentioned with Jalen Hurts so far. He's got a great rushing floor, so he's going to be someone who's going to get you at least minimum 10, 15 points a game, which, I mean, you also want more. He had 22.2 points per game last year. I just don't know if I trust him when it gets to the playoff time because play always does seem to dip. But the one thing that does going for him is I do think defense is going to take a step back this upcoming season, which might mean that he's going to be more situations that he has to play catch-up ball to pass more.
That's what you want in fantasy.
Yeah, which I guess you already mentioned your number 7, right? That was Tom Brady.
I already mentioned number 7, yes.
Yeah, so I'll go on to my number 8, which is Jalen Hurts, which you mentioned a lot higher. And I'll say this, that defense is stacked in Philly. Yeah. And one thing that Jalen Hurts was very big with before was being able to play catch-up ball. Maybe not so much last year, but definitely the year before. And I don't think he's been playing a lot of catch-up ball. So there's going to be a lot more players involved in the backfield when they're up a lot because you don't want your QB to get hit if you're winning by a lot or winning at all, really. But I think Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell are going to get a decent amount of carries compared to last year. A.J. Brown's going to be a big help, but the talent of Jalen Hurts just isn't there. You're really going to be hoping for a lot of plays outside the numbers, like some bombs, stuff like that, to get to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith because Hurts just hasn't had the best success throwing across the middle. But I mean, like we said before, his rushing floor is there. He's going to get you 15 points a game just based off his rushing ability. But his ceiling, like, I mean, not his ceiling necessarily, but his passing floor is just not there. And I can't put him much higher, especially because I don't expect to play as much catch-up as before.
Okay, well, I hear you. Well, I've realized a pattern amongst our lists. We tend to swap players. I have 8 Joe Burrow. I don't really need to talk about him. It's a player you've already talked about. I agree with you. He's going to do his same thing, but he's not going to be the same level as last year. If he was, I would agree with you at Joe Burrow at 4. I just think that was too good of a year to replicate. I just see it as it's not going to happen again. But as far as his skill wise, that's why I have him at 8.
I mean, Joe Burrow, like I said before, like he really caught on late. Like fantasy wise, he wasn't necessarily a top guy early in the season. It's really late where he caught on. So that's why I'm hoping for that he keeps that momentum going.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, coming off a Super Bowl loss, you think that I don't know. You will see. 9, I have Mr. Dakota Prescott.
Same number 9.
You have the same number 9?
Yep.
Nice. what is there to say about him? He's a solid quarterback. We had him. I wouldn't say last year. The year before that, he was also very highly ranked. He was dropping 35 points a game, 25 points a game 2 years ago, and then he got that injury. So he was getting drafted very high as like a top 5 quarterback. He took a step down this year, not a crazy step down, but he had a whole fully healthy season. He loses Amari Cooper, but he adds Jalen Tolbert. He keeps Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb, who's going to take a big step. They're going to use Tony Pollard a lot more in the passing game, from what I've heard. And Dalton Schultz has all the confidence in the world. So I think Dak could be a sleeper as well to be a top 5 finisher.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Cowboys had statistically the number 1 offense last year in football, and Dak Prescott is a big part of that. You also did forget to mention James Washington is going to be out for the year.
Well, yeah, that's why I didn't mention him, because it's not an addition.
Mm-hmm. But Gallup, we have to wait and see how long it takes for him to be back. I think I've heard about week 4 is about the target range, week 4 or 5, for him to get back. But I mean, he's got CeeDee Lamb, who's going to be one of the top players in fantasy football this year at the wide receiver position. Hopefully, Zeke, for the Cowboys' sake, has a bounce back year. And I'm a big fan of Dalton Schultz this year. He was very productive last year. I think he'll be productive again this year. And yeah, I mean, Mike McCarthy has always had very high octane offenses, right? And just like last year, so I think Dak Prescott's going to have a lot of opportunities. The defense they have is a very opportunistic defense, so they might not necessarily be the best. But they're either going to get a big play or give up a big play, and that's going to work a lot of times in the favor of Dak Prescott trying to keep up in a high-scoring game.
Yeah, one thing that I'm like starting to think about now, because you're mentioning it so much, that Cowboys defense I think is going to really suck, and that's just. I think it's going to suck, and it's never been great. Of course, they have Micah Parsons. They have their bright spots. Trayvon Diggs. But he's going to be playing a lot of comeback ball, I think. Dak Prescott might be someone to watch in fantasy, to be completely honest. That's exactly what you want in a quarterback. You want somebody that's not going to be a dominant team. You want somebody that's going to be playing comeback ball 24/7. Because they got to throw the ball. They got to, even if it's interceptions, they got to throw it. They got to run it. They got to do whatever they can to get back in that game. So he really is a sleeper this year.
Yeah, and I mean the defense is, I don't think it's going to be necessarily bad, but it's going to take a step back last year because they just had a crazy turnover differential, right? And I just don't think that their turnovers they had last year. I think I remember one day had like 36 or 34 turnovers, something like that. I just don't think they're going to have the same amount this year. And like I said before, they're a very opportunistic defense. Trevon Diggs, the thing about him that was. If you want to say great or bad, because people are very opposite ends of it, but he's a great ball hawk. But he's either going to get an interception or he's going to give up a 50-yard play. That's going to create big plays. That's going to give the defense less time with the ball, so the offense is going to be back on the field quicker to be able to produce more yards and more points.
Now that we're on a topic, I'm just going to say this really quick. I feel like Trayvon, because we're not going to get to cornerbacks. Actually, that makes no sense. They're not fantasy players, but. Trayvon Diggs just feels like that player that's going to get paid big money eventually and just suck. Like Trumaine Johnson type player. I don't know why they just popped in my head, but that's what's going to happen. I feel like he's going to get paid and he's just going to be bad.
Just Trayvon Diggs hater. That's all. That's why I popped in your head. Anyways, let's go on to number 10. I have the back-to-back MVP Aaron Rodgers at number 10.
Wow.
Aaron Rodgers obviously lost his number 1 receiver, best receiver in football, in Davante Adams. But at the same time, he's Aaron Rodgers, and he's going to make plays. Right? He's Aaron Rodgers.
He's Aaron Rodgers, but
they should be a more run-heavy team this year with Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon back there. I expect Aaron Jones to be able to get a lot of receptions this year and to be able to create plays off them. AJ Dillon's actually a pretty good receiver himself. Alan Starr's been number 1 receiver. Not great for a number receiver, but he'll produce. I've heard some really good things about Romeo Doubs so far in training camp. He's the rookie receiver out of Nevada. Mm-hmm. And I mean, who else they got? They drafted Christian Watson. They got Samuel Watkins.
Reliable Randall Cobb.
So I mean, he's got some people that he's familiar with and some rookies coming in. Robert Tonyan should be back from his injury. He had a little bit of a connection with them before. So it's going to be enough that Aaron Rodgers. He's going to be able to produce. He's in a Metal Floor offense that he's, like I said, back-to-back MVPs with. He's not going to be a top 5 QB, but he's going to be a solid QB. That if you pick him as the 10th, 11th QB off the board in your draft, you'll be fine with it.
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, I just think he doesn't have the weapons. And as far as A-Rod, the player, there's nothing you could say that's bad about him. The guy's the MVP of the league back-to-back years, and he's deserved it. Fantasy-wise, the guy's not on my top 12 list, personally. He's just not. He doesn't have the weapons, and he wasn't good last year, even when he had Devontae, fantasy-wise. My number 10 is Let's Ride. Russell Wilson, Denver Broncos.
Yeah. Oh, real quick with Aaron Rodgers. He was pretty good at fantasy last year. I mean, he had 21.1 points per game, which, I mean, was the same amount that Lamar averaged per game. It was about 8th best in the league last year.
You realize what you're taking away, right?
I realize what he's taking away, but I'm saying that, like you said last year, he wasn't great in fantasy. I mean, it was better than people like Matthew Stafford, for example, last year.
Well, yeah,
it was better. It was better than Joe Burrow. He was pretty good at fantasy.
The guy that you had at 4.
I mean, he caught on late.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But yeah, no, Russell Wilson, man. Everybody. I mean, he was a top 7 quarterback before the injury, the thumb injury. You have Jerry Jeudy and Sutton. Everybody's taking Jerry Jeudy over Sutton in fantasy, which blows my fucking mind. But that's another episode, another conversation. He's just going to go in there and be Russell Wilson. Solid O-line, 2 solid running backs that could both catch the ball. I think they still have 2 solid tight ends in Dulcich and not going to even try to pronounce his name. And he has all the weapons Albert. He has all the weapons he could use. I think he's gonna flourish in that Broncos offense and be more than a viable quarterback for fantasy.
So I mean, I have Russell Wilson next at 11. Russell Wilson, I just don't think he's going to have to do a lot with that team. The defense is stacked. They're going to be able to hold teams to a low amount of points per game, and I mean, he's got 2 great running backs back there. I might argue that that Melvin Gordon might be the best one there, but that's a topic for another day. At least in real life, I'm saying. But
yeah.
But I mean, he's got 2 great running backs, like I said, so they'll probably run the ball decent amount, right? I mean, you want to get Javonte Williams the ball in open field because he's one of the best running backs in the open field. Melvin Gordon is a great receiving back, but he's also a great goal line back that you're going to get the ball to a lot in the red zone. Courtland Sutton is a stud. Jerry Jeudy, hopefully he can break out this year because we know he has the talent. He just hasn't been consistent enough. The Tim Patrick injury does hurt. It does. He is a very good receiver. Yeah, but he's coming off an injury. Mm-hmm. So we have to see how he's going to be. Overall, I just don't think Russell Wilson is going to be asked to do a lot. So I didn't want to put him any higher than where I have him at 11 because, yeah, I mean, the defense is going to hold teams to a low amount of points, and he's got running backs back there that's going to do a lot of damage for them.
I hear you. So you had him at 11. So who'd you have at 10?
At Rodgers.
Oh, I thought we were – yeah, you're right. You did 10 first. Okay, so that was your 11. So you want me to say my 11 now?
Yeah.
I had Matthew Stafford. But saying that, I'm hearing about the elbow injury. That I have him ranked 11 if he plays. At 11, if he doesn't play, I would have Aaron Rodgers. But as of right now, I'm going to have Matthew Stafford there at 11. I don't know how severe that injury is, but he's got weapons for days. He always has and always will on that Rams offense. He's just going to be a guy that's definitely viable to use. Same with Russell Wilson. He's going to be viable enough to go in there and get you your 15-plus points a game consistently. And not the pick of the litter, but he's going to be good enough.
Yeah, I had to lower him a little bit once I saw the injury.
That's fair.
Because it wasn't that I do think he did deal with a little bit last year. Obviously, it didn't matter. He won Super Bowl. But if he was dealing with it a little bit last year, it's like, what was it? It's like some type of I thought I heard arthritis.
It's a pitcher injury, like from throwing a lot of balls. Yeah.
So
it's not requiring Tommy John surgery, I don't think. But it's something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's something that's not going to go away, right?
No, so, it's going to be nagging him for the rest of his career.
Yeah. So it's just something that's a bit concerning. He's obviously. I mean, he's got Cooper Kupp, he's got Allen Robinson. it's just something that's going to be concerning for him to deal with the whole season. And also the fact that I expect Cam Akers to get a lot more touches this year because obviously he's back from injury. And hopefully for them is a decent running back because they didn't have a lot of rushing production last year.
From what I'm hearing is it's going to be a committee, 50-50 split, Darrell Henderson, Cam Akers.
Oh, God.
That's what I've heard from. So that's bad for Cam Akers owners, especially people who have already drafted stupidly to draft. All right, but who's your number 12? Because my 12 is going to be interesting.
So, I mean, Stafford would have been in my top 12 if not for that. But I put a guy who got a brand new weapon, a guy who, Derek Carr. I mean, it's interesting because Josh McDaniels in New England was a very run-heavy guy, so I don't know if I'm going to expect a lot of runs from Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake and possibly Samir White in that backfield. But, I mean, he's got Devontae Adams. You got to use him. He should be a big-time red zone threat. You got Darren Waller, should be a red zone threat. Hunter Renfrow, great slot receiver. I think he just has too many weapons not to use them. And for him not to get a lot of yards, I think he should definitely be able to get 4,500 plus yards. And Waller and Adams, you should be using them in the red zone, which should lead to a lot of touchdowns. So that's why I have him at 12. He hasn't necessarily been a great fantasy QB throughout his career.
Yeah.
But I mean, you give him Devontae Adams, you don't have the best rushing attack. I think, especially with a play caller like Josh McDaniels, he should be fantasy relevant this year.
No, I agree with you on that. Derek Carr is definitely someone that should be mentioned in that. I think you know what my number 12 is. We might have touched on it a little earlier. My number 12 is Tua Tagovailoa. And we're talking about fantasy. I'm not saying Tua is a top 12 quarterback in the league. He's not. He's not probably top 20. But he is going to come in here. This offense is built for quarterbacks. He's going to come in there. He's going to dink and dunk to Tyreek and Waddle. Jet sweeps count as passes. It's going to be very easy for him. The offense is going to be very easy for them. Tua could run. He's healthy. He has the legs to run and score touchdowns. He's proven that last 2 seasons. He's gonna finish a top 12 quarterback in fantasy this year if he stays healthy. He just is. The offense is built for quarterbacks in fantasy. It just is. And I'm not saying Jimmy Garoppolo because Jimmy Garoppolo is not Tua Tagovailoa. Let's make that very clear.
That's bad. I hope
it's not bad. When we look at this at the end of the year and Tua is a top 12 fantasy quarterback, you'll say different.
No, I mean, Tua hasn't shown that he can produce high-scoring games. I mean, he hasn't shown that he can produce a high-scoring fantasy game relevant. I mean, and you're saying to McDaniel offense built for QB. He's great because of his running schemes that he builds up, passing schemes. And I mean, you said the sweeps or the touch pass, whatever. I mean, if it's a handoff to Tyreek Hill in the backfield off an end around, that's not going to go to points to Tua. I mean, to Waddle and Tyreek have the ability to create a lot of yards after the catch, but I mean, they're going to be a more run-heavy scheme, and they're not going to put a lot of on the plate for Tua. I think when they're in the red zone, they're going to be very run-heavy. I don't think you're going to – I mean, you're not trying to scheme up Tyreek Hill or Waddle as much in the red zone as you are in the open field. Most of their touchdowns are going to be from big plays. Gesicki, I just don't expect big year from Gesicki. And I mean, who else do you really have as a red zone threat? He's not going to get a lot of touchdowns. I mean, it's going to be a run-heavy scheme.
For sure.
Don't think he's going to be a top 20 QB in fantasy.
All right, well, we'll see. One of us is going to be very wrong. One of us will be very right. And I really do. I think Tua is going to be a top 12 quarterback in fantasy. I think his job's going to be easy. I agree with you on the red zone thing. That's one reason why I was thinking about putting Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins here. We're going to be running the ball inside the 20. We're not inside the 20, inside the 10. 100%. I agree with you on that. I went to a training camp. That's all they were doing in the red zone. But
I put Kirk Cousins. I do Trey Lance with his rushing ability. I like Jameis Winston this year with their receiving core that they have. I mean, I take a chance on Trevor Lawrence or take a chance on Justin Fields' rushing ability, even though Justin Fields I don't think is very good at all. I mean, Tua is not a runner.
You'd take Trey Lance over Tua Tagovailoa?
In fantasy, yes.
You'll see. It's okay, but you're also, you have to remember though, you're also very high on Trey Lance.
I am high on Trey Lance, but he also has the rushing floor. And I mean, he's also.
I'm telling you right now, Tua will finish. Mark this shit. Tua will finish top 12 in fantasy. He will.
I'm just going to call you out right now. That is very biased.
It might be, but I'm telling you right now, I truly feel like I truly believe that with every bone in my body. He
You
has the
believe it or
weapons
you
that
want to see
any
it?
pass that he's good at, slants, little screens, which are the passes he's elite at and accurate with.
But those aren't big plays, right? I
Those
mean,
are big plays though, because Tyreek and Jalen Waddle could take
he
any
can,
given play for 80
but
yards.
but Tua also does not have a rushing floor. He played 12 games last year, he had 128 rushing yards. It's not a good rushing
Because
floor.
he had no O line.
That's not the only reason why he's a more pocket passer guy. He's not a runner.
But he can, though, is what I'm saying. You're saying Trey Lance has a better floor of running than Tua. How is that fair? What
I mean, he
has he done to
does.
prove that?
He's an athlete. He's been known as an athlete. Even in college, the man ran for over 1,000
In
yards.
D2 against D2 schools.
Yeah, Tua didn't run in college either. I mean,
He didn't need to. He went to Bama.
Are you trying to say that Tua's a better runner than Trey Lance?
I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying that
so what are you trying to argue?
you're basing Trey Lance off just being an athlete that's going to be a better runner.
I mean, I can even try looking up his stats last year. The man didn't even start, and he probably had more rushing yards. I mean,
you could look that up. I don't think he did, but that doesn't mean anything. Even if he didn't, he didn't play enough games. I'm just telling you right now, Tua will finish a top 12 quarterback in fantasy. I don't give a fuck. You can put it on TikTok. That'll get a lot of clicks. I'm telling you, he will. I know he will. Yes, you could say biased. Sure, I don't care. It's fair. It's fair to say that.
And he did have more rushing yards last year.
It's cool. You'll see.
All right, let's just go on and move on to.
I have 2 honorable mentions. We don't have to talk about them, but Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, they could be sleepers, both of them.
Yeah, I briefly mentioned Trevor Lawrence. Zach Wilson could be. I'm hoping that Breece Hall gets a lot of touches this year, so I'm kind of taking that away. The Jets are just very weird to think Zach Wilson. I think he's going to be very good or very bad. I don't know, just much median for fantasy purposes. So, yeah, I wouldn't draft him in the top 12. But, I mean, if you're in a 2 QB league, I might take a late pick on him.
No, I wouldn't take him top 12, obviously, because they're not in the top 12. But
yeah, so before we move on, I'm just going to recap what I had my 1 through 12. So I had number 1, Josh Allen, 2, Justin Herbert, 3, Patrick Mahomes, 4, Joe Burrow, 5, Lamar Jackson, 6, Tom Brady, 7, Kyler Murray, 8, Jalen Hurts, 9, Dak Prescott, 10, Aaron Rodgers, 11, Russell Wilson, and number 12, Derek Carr. Those are my top 12 fantasy QBs.
All right, and my top 12 fantasy QBs for this season: number 1, Josh Allen; number 2, Lamar Jackson; number 3, Justin Herbert; number 4, Jalen Hurts; number 5, Patrick Mahomes; number 6, Kyler Murray; number 7, Tom Brady; number 8, Joe Burrow; number 9, Dak Prescott; number 10, Russell Wilson; number 11, Matthew Stafford; number 12, Tua Tagovailoa.
All right, let's move on. Tight ends. So, I mean, the thing with QBs I do want to mention real quick is, I mean, let me just go quickly look back. The number 3 fantasy QB last year, I believe, was Tom Brady. Points game of 22.7, right? Mm-hmm. And let me just count it real quick. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, I mean, there's 7 QBs between 20.4 and 22.7, right? So, I mean, and points per game. So, a 2-point difference between QB3 and what I just say QB10 would it be?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's not a big difference there. So, I would always take a QB later. You're not going to get a huge difference between the top QBs and the mid-tier QBs. So, I'd always just take a QB later.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree on that as well. I wouldn't take him as late as you would. I don't think I'd ever be caught without a quarterback in my last round. But yeah, I agree with that tactic. I would not take a quarterback in the top 7 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, I took Tom Brady last year very late in the 11th or 12th round. Yeah, I mean, it worked out. Yep. All right, tight ends. We can go ahead and start right at the top. I think we might have the same one. I think we should have the same one.
Do we?
I have Travis Kelce number 1.
I don't.
You don't? All right, well, I'll just go and start off Travis Kelce. He is, in my opinion, the best tight end in football right now. Obviously, it could be a debate with George Kittle, and this is real life talking. With best tight end in football. He did finish number 2 last year, but he is the number 1 option now in Kansas City. It could mean that he sees a lot more double teams because Tyreek Hill no longer is there, and he obviously was a major threat deep. But, I mean, Travis Kelce is one of the best route runners in football in general, just the tight end position. And he's going to be a safety target for Patrick Mahomes. He's really the only receiver there that Mahomes has any chemistry with. So he's going to get a lot of targets like normal. He's going to get almost all the red zone opportunities, kind of like normal also. I just think he's going to be in for a big year. Maybe not as big of a year as he had in 2020, but I think it's going to be somewhere in between 2020 and 2021.
No, yeah, no hate on that pick at all. I don't care if you take Travis Kelce one. He's the best tight end in football, skill wise. Besides George Kittle, I agree with you on that. But my number one was Mark Andrews. He had a great year last year. I don't think he's as high profile as Travis Kelce. I don't think you go into a game scheming to stop. Jesus fucking Christ, he just pulled out a prime. I don't think you go into the game against the Ravens and go, we need to stop Mark Andrews. He's nothing elite level talent wise. I really don't believe that. I just think the team he's on, Lamar loves him. I feel like you go into the game, you try to stop Lamar from escaping the pocket. That's the main focus. So I think fantasy wise, I think Mark Andrews will finish. I think he finished tight end one last year, correct?
Yeah.
I think he's going to finish tight end one again this year.
Yeah. So I have Mark Andrews too. I'm guessing you probably have Kelce at too.
I do.
But the thing with Lamar actually did not like Mark Andrews as much as the other QBs. I don't remember the exact stat, but I mean, I know that in games that Lamar Jackson did not play last year, Mark Andrews was a lot better in fantasy points per game. I want to say it was a drastic change also. I'm not 100% sure because I don't remember the exact stats, so I don't want to repeat it, but I want to say it was by a couple points per game that it was a difference between what Mark Andrews put up with and without Lamar Jackson. Now, he is by far the best receiver in Baltimore right now. But kind of going back to my Lamar thing, I think it's going to be a very run-heavy scheme. So I don't know if it's going to be so much pass attempts. Also, that defense is stacked. So kind of going back to what I said before, I don't think as many pass opportunities because the defense is going to hold the other teams to a lot lower amount of points. But, I mean, Mark Andrews, he's going to have a lot of attention, especially with no true deep threat there as of right now. And I think he'll be good. I think he's going to be a great red zone threat, like always, which is what you need at time. You need someone who's going to have a great red zone threat because unless you're really one of these top 3 or 4 guys, you're going to be very dependent based on the amount of touchdowns you can get. So he's going to be a great red zone threat. He'll probably get like a good 5 or 50 per game, something like that. But I just can't put him on the same level as Kelce. I mean, Kelce has a better throwing QB, and they're both number 1 targets. Got to put Mark Andrews at 2.
Yeah. Well, no, I can't hate it. Like I said, I won't hate on it. Travis Kelce, the reason why I put him 2 is because of what you said. I think they will go into the game saying, let's stop Travis instead of saying, let's stop Tyreek. That's why I think the defense is going to have more of a focus on Travis Kelce. And that's why I put him behind Mark Andrews. But there's no hate if you do take him 1. It's Travis Kelce at the end of the day.
And who'd you got number 3? Because this is where I kind of struggled a bit.
I didn't struggle. Number 3, I have Kyle Pitts. The reason why I went with that fantasy-wise is I do love his bye week at 14. I see him in training camp every day making a highlight. Hopefully Mariota hits him like he should, but if he does, he could easily become tight end 1 this year. Just skill-wise, he just can. So there's not really anybody competing with him for that spot, him and Drake London. He's going to be the main receiver on this team. And I think Kyle Pitts is going to be a stud this year in fantasy football.
I love Kyle Pitts' talent. I'm going to have him a lot lower than most people.
That's all you.
But number 3, I kind of went off talent, though, with number 3. It was hard for me, but I did go with George Kittle. I mean, he's the next best tight end. I just think the talent there is going to be too much passed up on. I think with Trey Lance, a new QB, having a safety blanket like George Kittle, who has the ability to create after the catch, I think George Kittle is going to get the most targets in that offense. They got Deebo Samuel, they got Brandon Ayuk, who's had a great training camp, it looks like so far. But
he did last year as well.
Yeah, I know exactly. But George Kittle, I think he's going to be the safety blanket for Trey Lance. He's going to get a lot of the short dump-off passes that he's going to be able to create into big plays. He'll be the guy he wants to probably target in the red zone. Like I keep mentioning, I want touchdowns from my tight ends. George Kittle has necessarily always been the best with getting the red zone targets and the touchdowns compared to some of these other top tight ends.
Yeah,
But it is a new QB. I do think that he's just too talented to not take a chance up here this high.
I feel you on that. Yeah, no, George Kittle is the best tight end skill wise, and I can see what you're meaning by that. It's going to be Trey Lance's safety net starting the year. I don't hate that pick. You're saying it more, and it's talking me into it, but still, I have Kyle Pitts 3. So getting into 4, you're really not going to like this. Number 4, I have Darren Waller. Now, the reason why I have Darren Waller is because it was kind of based off last year, and I know it's a different quarterback situation down there in San Fran. But the Raiders have so many weapons now. They have the number 1 receiver in football. Derek loves Darren Waller. Darren Waller is going to get targeted a lot. I just think Darren Waller is a better receiver than George Kittle. I just think it's going to be easier for him to get points or breakout point games than George Kittle. So that's why I have Darren Waller at 4.
My number 4 is kind of high, I think, but I have Dalton Schultz, and here's why. Dalton Schultz is going to be in an offense that throws a lot. We know they're going to throw a lot. He had a great year last year. He had 12.3 points per game last year, which was the 4th most of all tight ends last year, only behind the 3 tight ends I already mentioned. And they lost to Amari Cooper. They lost Cedric Wilson. And, I mean, like we both kind of said before, they're going to throw the ball a lot. They're going to be with a defense that is going to give a lot of points. I think he's going to be the main red zone target next to CD. And I think the targets I had last year, he's only going to get more.
That's fair. I mean, I think you're crazy for having him over Darren Waller and Kyle Pitts. I think you're fucking insane.
I mean, he was better last year.
No, I agree with you. I just think you're insane for doing that. So who was your 5?
Did you say your 4?
I said my 4 already. It was Darren Waller.
My 5 is Darren Waller.
Okay.
Darren Waller. You say it's more weapons there, which I do agree with you with that. The only thing is, I mean, obviously he can't get every target, and like I kind of mentioned before with the QBs, Josh Daniels tends to have a run heavy scheme.
Yeah.
So you only have.
I don't think he will this year, though.
What was that?
I don't think he will this year.
I think it will be a moderately run heavy scheme. But how many targets is Darren Waller going to get? Because the safety blanket type player is Hunter Renfrow with the short stuff. The number 1 receiver there is going to be Devontae Adams. So, and I was thinking he's going to be the main red zone target. So, Darren Waller is kind of going to be the 3rd guy.
I don't agree with that.
You don't think?
I don't think Devontae Adams will be the main red zone target. I think if you're in the red zone, they're going Darren Waller.
I mean, how many touchdowns has Devontae Adams had over the past however many years?
How many has he got with Derek Carr?
We don't know. Well, we know in college he led the entire college.
Yeah, they went fucking insane. But I'm just saying, I think Darren Waller is going to have a role there.
He's going to have a role for sure. But I mean, how many targets is he going to have? Is he going to have 5, 6 targets? Is that going to be enough to really be fancy relevant to the point where I want to draft him much higher?
Well, my view on this is, going into last year, what would you say defense is going up against the Raiders? What was their main priority to stop?
Last year, it was to stop Darren Waller, number 1.
Okay. So this year, and remember, that was their main thing, and they couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it. I'm not saying
he didn't have his best year.
He didn't have his best year, but he also
was hurt.
He was dealing with injuries the whole year. Now they have Devontae Adams, the best receiver in football. It's going to change. There's going to be games where Devontae Adams does nothing. There's going to be games where Devontae Adams goes for 45. But Darren Waller's going to be fine. And I could say my 5 real quick because you already went over it. George Kittle. I like your thesis on it, saying it could be Trey Lance's safety net, which I agree with. But just based off the injuries and based off of what he does when running routes, it's not like a deep ball player. You know what I'm saying? He's more of a sit in his role, block very well. He's going to be good, but I have Darren Waller over him fantasy-wise.
The one other thing I want to say with Darren Waller is he doesn't really get a lot of touchdowns because last year he only played 11 games, but he only had 2 touchdowns. And last year, season there was just off with Carr and Waller, right? I mean, he was targeted a decent amount. He had the crazy game week 1 where he was targeted like 20
Don't
times.
fucking remind me of it.
But after that, it seemed like they weren't on the same level a lot of times. I wonder how much of that's going to be fixed this year. And obviously, a new offensive scheme, which has been pretty favorable to tight ends in the past, like a Hunter Henry last year, like obviously a Rob Gronkowski. So there is definitely a chance for him to have high upside, which is why I do have him this high. I mean, he is Darren Waller, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just concerned because I do think he is going to be kind of the third most targeted guy on that offense.
That's fair to say. I can't really tell you're wrong on that. Everybody's got their own point of views. So I'm going to go with 6 real quick as well because it's a player we already talked about. Dalton Schultz. I agree with you. He's going to be great this year. I can't in my head put Dalton Schultz over Kyle Pitts, George Kittle, Darren Waller. I just can't do that. I know
I didn't put him above Kittle.
I know. I'm just saying I can't because it's a kind of a name thing, but it's also you can't like I can't see myself just sitting there with Kyle Pitts, Darren Waller on the board, and me saying, "Yep, got to get myself Dalton Schultz." So that's why I put Dalton Schultz 6.
So my number 6 is Kyle Pitts. Here's the thing with Kyle Pitts: talented, so talented. He's much more talented than some of the guys I've above
Mariota.
But it doesn't do with Mariota. But
really?
Mariota is the reason why I have Pitts this low. But
is or isn't?
He is the reason.
Okay.
Right. So Matt Ryan is known for giving a heavy target percentage to his number 1 guy. Obviously, once Ridley left, Kyle Pitts was the number 1 guy. And he only had 1 touchdown all last year, if I'm not mistaken. Right? He only had that 1 touchdown against Jacksonville, or did he score?
He still hasn't. No, he scored. I think at the end of the year. I could be wrong, but I know I don't think he scored in America yet.
He either had 1 or 2 touchdowns last year, so he wasn't getting a lot of touchdowns. He was great for a rookie tight end, absolutely great. But I mean, like I said, a heavy target percentage was to Kyle Pitts because that's just what Matt Ryan does with Kyle Pitts last year, with Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley in the past, with Roddy White. His number 1 targets get fed. Now you got Drake London in there who's going to take a lot of the targets away from Kyle Pitts. And it's not going to be a great offense, not going to be a great passing offense, right? Arthur Smith had great running offenses in Tennessee with Derrick Henry back there. Marcus Mariota, he might be rejuvenated. Who knows? But even if he's a mobile guy, he doesn't have the best, most accurate arm. So, I mean, you could just throw it up to Kyle Pitts and he can come down with it. But I just don't think he's going to be as heavily targeted as last year. And if he isn't turning into a red zone threat, which he only had 1 or 2 touchdowns last year, I just don't think his upside is going to be that high. And I'd rather take Darren Waller where I could trust the QB situation better. I'd rather take a Dalton Schultz where I could trust the QB situation better. And also, all these guys were better last year than Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts averaged 10.4 fantasy points per game last year. You had Darren Waller, who had 12.1.
That was due to the lack of touchdowns, though.
It was, but at the same time, I think the yards going to go down. He might get a little more touchdowns, but is 4 or 5 really going to make a big difference?
Yes.
I think
he's going to get the same amount of yards this year. I just truly do. I feel like you're going into that offense, and he's going to be the number 1 guy. Mariota knows this. Mariota has hit his tight ends in the past. He was very good with Delaney Walker in Tennessee, and after that, he really never got a starting job. But he's going to hit his tight end. Arthur Smith is making it a focal point. You have Drake London. You have Darren Waller. You have Kyle Pitts. Throw it up to them. Give them their shots. You give them their 50-50 shots, they're winning it 80% of the time. That's just the players they are. So
Kyle Pitts had a lot of like deep targets last year. Like his average yard per reception was 15, which is pretty big for a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can expect that from Mariota. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be as heavily targeted, not just due to the fact that Matt Ryan's no longer there, but due to the fact that I think Drake London's going to be a problem there, and he's going to demand targets.
No, he's not. No, that's just wrong. He's not going to go into Atlanta his rookie year and demand targets. It's just not going to happen.
He's going to demand more targets than
Drake London's going to be fine by himself. He's a good player. He'll get open. He'll get his own. Trust me, he'll get his own. You're not going to. You can't say a rookie's going to go to an NFL team and demand targets if it's a lack of production. They're just not going to do that.
He's going to demand targets. He's going to be the number 1 receiver there, wide receiver there. And he's going to be taking more targets away than Russell Gage did. They're also going to be a much more run-heavy team. Even though they don't really have great running backs in Atlanta, they're going to be
Tyler Algier, yeah, they don't have really much.
I mean, I actually think he could be a decent guy this year.
No, he will be. Like,
but Cordero Patterson isn't really a running back, and he also kind of complained about his workload last year, getting hit as much. Mariota's going to use his legs much more than Matt Ryan, that's for sure. I just can't trust Kyle Pitts to get through receiving targets and production.
Well, we could disagree on that, but I think Kyle Pitts is going to be a stud this year.
Kyle Pitts is one guy I'm fading. But next up, you gave your number 6?
I did do my number 6. It was
Schultz, right?
Yes.
Yeah. This next one was very tough. I kind of almost have a tie at number 7.
Go for it.
But should I say both of them or
go for 7? Just go for 7, and just say 8 was.
I went with Dallas Goedert at number 7.
Wow.
But my number 8, the guy that I was close with, was T.J. Hockenson. But Dallas Goedert, the big thing with Dallas Goedert, oh, you must have somebody crazy high.
I don't have Dallas Goedert or T.J. Hockenson at my 7 or 8.
Ooh, that's kind of crazy. But why do I feel like I know who you're gonna put there, and that's going to all right, whatever.
No, you won't. You won't.
All right, so this Dallas Goedert, he was very good last year, but he did have some drop problems, and the QB situation is a problem there. And it is kind of a thing with Darren Waller in the sense that, I mean, A.J. Brown's the best receiver there. I guess you can make a case who should be number 2 in targets between Smith and Goddard, but I think that Smith will probably get the edge because, like I said, Jalen Smith is much better throwing outside the numbers. So Dallas Goddard's going to be more of a guy coming across the middle. So I think I might give the edge there to Devontae Smith. But if Dallas Goedert can get the targets in this offense, he has the potential to be top 5 and even top 3 in fantasy, just based off if he can get the targets. He, like I said, he had some drop issues. Like he drops a couple touchdowns last year. He had some major drops.
Yeah.
But he gets open. He's so talented.
He does. I agree with you on that.
He has a lot of potential. So that's why I put him at number 7.
I had him lower just because the drop issues and there's a lot of targets. Can I ask you a question really quick? Skill-wise, and this is interesting to me. Skill-wise, who's a better receiver, A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith?
A.J. Brown's better. He's better.
I think A.J. Brown's better, but I think Devontae Smith could be better.
I think
Devontae Smith is. I just watching that one game against the Broncos. I think Devontae Smith can be really fucking good. I'm not saying he's going to be better than AJ. I don't think he's going to be better than AJ Brown this year. But I just think, how long has AJ Brown been in the league? 3 or 4 years?
This is going to be his 4th year because he just signed an extension.
Yeah,
I think.
I think by the time Devontae Smith's going into his 4th year, he could be just as good, if not better. But that's a topic for another episode. Who is your 8 again? You can just go over 7 and 8, considering you already said them.
So my 8 was T.J. Hockenson. The thing with T.J. Hockenson is I've kind of mentioned before, I kind of like the idea of the Lions this year. I just don't know if he's going to get a lot of targets. Last year, there was a lot of games where it's just kind of annoying watching the Lions, right? Because Hockenson was getting targeted. Like I think he had a couple like donuts last year. It was very frustrating watching T.J. Hockenson last year. But you know that he has the talent. You know how
talent-wise, yes, but he also has. Tell me, drum roll, please. What also does he have?
Oh, what is it?
In Detroit.
Well, he has Jared Goff. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, that was another thing. But the thing is, I've seen Jared Goff help produce top level guys. Well, fancy guys, right? I've seen it. I've seen it with Brandon Cooks. I've seen it with Robert Woods. I've seen it with Cooper Kupp. I've seen him be able to produce guys. Obviously, Sean McVay's a big reason to that.
Yeah, Sean McVay to Dan Campbell's a big fucking difference right there, my boy.
It is. But at the same time, I mean, he had less targets last year than he did the year before. If he can get to that 100 target range this year and be a bit more of a red zone threat, then he's going to be a very productive fantasy tight end. But with Jared Goff and with the ascension, I think, of Amon-Ra St. Brown, with Swift possibly getting more involved in the backfield, with possibly how James Williams looks when he comes back, I don't know what the role is going to be for T.J. Hockenson. But it could also open up more for him. But, I mean, T.J. Hockenson, though, he's a stud in terms of talent.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that, and there's no complaints coming from me. The way I see it is I can go with any of my top tight ends in this draft, and I can be okay. Completely okay with it. I wouldn't be the happiest. Of course, you want the top end guys, but I'd be okay with it. At 7, I'll go 7 and 8, considering you did it as well. It sucks because my 7 and 8 are probably going to be your guys and your later picks, but I'll say him now. I have 7. I have Dawson Knox. He just picked up very well at the end of the year right there, and I think it's just going to continue to go on. Josh Allen tends to like target him a lot, and he's open. He does his job. He's getting a lot of touchdowns recently. I think Dawson Knox is going to have an amazing year. And number 8, I have Zach Ertz. And the reason why Zach Ertz, and I can agree with you, Hawkinson and Goddard, skill wise, if you're talking skill, they're way higher, 100%. I just kind of don't like their situations. Goddard's got a lot of talent around him, and Hawkinson has Jared Goff. It's unfortunate. But I do have Zach Ertz there because it just seemed like once he went to the Cardinals, he turned into old Zach Ertz. He was getting his points per game. He was getting his targets. And I don't see why that would change. Nothing's really changed with the Cardinals. So I feel like Zach Ertz is going to be a very safe tight end this year. I don't think he's going to necessarily win you fantasy games, but I think he's going to be the guy that if you're dependent on 10 points from that position, you can get it from him.
Yeah, I mean, so those were my next. Next I had Zach Ertz, right? Zach Ertz, he did look a lot better in Arizona. He decided to resign there. So he obviously liked what's going on there. It's kind of that thing with Arizona's second half of the season. Like, I'm looking playoff wise in fantasy that I think Zach Ertz won't fall off, but you know how the rest of the offense is going to be. And also, once they add DeAndre Hopkins back later in the year, what's his role going to look like? I think that he actually might get a bit more red zone.
What's changed from last year, though? They kept all their coaches. They kept the same fucking offense. They have not done anything in this offseason at all.
Except lose Chase Edmonds.
Except lose Chase Edmonds, which was a good receiving back.
But yeah, I mean, he was a quality tight end last year. He is quality.
He was safe. He was consistent.
I actually think he might get a couple more touchdown opportunities this year because I just don't expect James Conner to have the same amount of touchdowns he did last year. So he might get those opportunities, right? And Kyler, I think, has the ability to be a very good RPO QB to be able to hit Zach Ertz in those situations, especially near the goal line. So it'll be.
You had Zach Ertz at 9?
I had Zach Ertz at 9, yeah.
And where'd you have Dawson Knox?
I had him right below him.
10? So we basically just switched. All right, so let me just say this then. 9 I had Dallas Goedert, 10 I had TJ Hawkinson. So we basically just swapped them.
Yeah, and then with Dawson Knox, I mean, the thing is, this last year he was so touchdown dependent that, I mean, he basically has to have 9 touchdowns again to really be fantasy relevant, right? I mean, he didn't have the most targets last year, and I mean, you still got Stephon Diggs there. You have Gable Davis, who I expect to have a much better year. Isaiah McKenzie apparently has looked very good so far during training camp. And let's see what James Cook brings. They actually run the ball quite a bit. Yeah, James Crowder, but it looks like Isaiah McKenzie's kind of taking over that slot. That's why
I think he is as well.
But yeah, so they got a lot of receivers, so he's not going to really get as much production between the 20s. You're really just hoping that he gets to red zone touchdown targets. And if he's not getting the 9 touchdowns again, I just can't depend on him.
Could I say something now? It just, I agree with you, he's touchdown dependent, but it just kind of seemed like once they got in that red zone that Josh, because I know they're close friends off the field too, that he was just looking for Dawson, and he was always open. So I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a great connection. That might be a little sneaky stack as well right there. Josh Allen, Dawson Knox.
Well, also, I mean, I think we'll see Stephon Diggs get a bit more action this year in the red zone than he did the year before. I feel like he didn't get as much red zone targets as he probably is used to last year. Well, actually, he had quite a bit of touchdowns last year. Maybe I'm mistaken. But I don't know how much that was in the red zone. But also, Gabriel Davis proved late in the year in the playoffs that he could be a very relevant red zone guy. So he's another option.
Mock drafts right now, but he's going to be very good. Mm-hmm. All right, who's your number 11?
My number 11, let me pull that back up real quick. My number 11, this is a guy that I like this year. He's kind of a sleeper guy. He's really, the rest of the guys are really just all give me a touchdown and I'm good type guys. Mm-hmm. So at this point, I kind of go for upside, and I'd go with Cole Kmet. I think he had a lot of potential coming out. They got Darnell Mooney there in Chicago, and there's really nobody else there. Give me the check down guy, a little like safety blanket guy, the tight end of Cole Kmet. He's got a lot of talent. Justin Fields doesn't have a lot of weapons. I'm also just not the biggest guy in Justin Fields, which is kind of why I wasn't crazy about the Cole Kmet pick. Mm-hmm. But if I'm going to go upside here, I think Cole Kmet's probably got the best upside of all my remaining options.
That's fair. He's a safe pick. I didn't have him in my top 12, but he was definitely lingering on like safe because at 11 and 12, I kind of just wanted to go safety. At 11, I didn't go safety, though. I went with a guy that could either boom or bust. Hopefully, he booms a lot more than he busts this year. But I put now I really am not trying to be biased. I have Mike Gesicki at 11. I really just do. And I'm not trying to be biased, and I'm not saying he's better than these guys or safer. He's going to have 0 points or he's going to have 20 points. That's just what he does. So as far as safety, you don't want to draft him. But if you're down in a week and he plays on Monday Night Football, that's the guy you might want to get in there. He could boom or bust, and hopefully it's a lot more boom than bust. But it's a risky pick. But as far as skill wise, he's definitely a top 7 tight end skill wise. I have him at 11 there.
Anyways, number 12, I have Pat Freiermuth of Pittsburgh. I liked what I saw from him. I think he'd be a good red zone guy for them. They got Deontay Johnson there. Although George Pickens looked pretty good, he's still a rookie. He's probably going to have to take some time to get himself comfortable in that offense. And why am I looking at Chase Claypool there? Kenny Pickett, it might be the starting QB, it might be Mitch Trubisky.
Deontay Johnson,
that's what I mentioned. I mentioned Deontay Johnson before.
My bad, I don't listen.
Yeah, of course you don't. But which congrats to Deontay Johnson on that big contract. Anyways, though, Freiermuth, I like what I saw from him. I don't think Eric Ebron's there anymore, so that should lead to more opportunities for him. And they have a new QB. Like I keep mentioning before, tight ends are typically known for being nice little check down guys who can get maybe a bunch of receptions from these young QBs. I would go with that option right there as well. Like Komet.
Don't hate that pick. So I had originally at 12 Pat Freiermuth as well. I'm going to change that. I made this list earlier. I think Pat Freiermuth is a safe pick. I think he's going to be consistently getting you at least 5-6 points a game. It's okay. I had him as a safe pick, but I'm going to be switching it with one of my sleepers this year in fantasy. I'm gonna say number 12, David Njoku. I know Watson's going to be suspended most likely the full year. NFL usually doesn't lose those types of battles, but Njoku doesn't have Hooper this year holding him back. He has Harrison Bryant, but I just feel like Njoku skill-wise and as well as not having another receiver, a tight end getting paid $11 million a year is definitely going to help him. He had his flashes of games last year, and I think this year he could take a big step. And I think that now that he's paid, he might be looked at more by the offensive coordinator and Stefanski.
Yeah, so that was the guy that actually had a sleeper. The one thing I'll mention is I do expect Jacoby Brissett to start most, if not the entire year.
Yeah.
And with Jacoby Brissett, both years he started in Indy, Jack Doyle made the Pro Bowl. So kind of put two together. It could be a sleeper.
He looked at his tight end. And then Njoku, skill-wise, he's there.
He's definitely got the skill. Some other sleeper guys I kind of mentioned Robert Tonyan before. Maybe he has a bounce back year because he's not a lot of weapons in Green Bay. It would be kind of a touchdown type guy you want a lot of touchdowns from. But also, this guy he's got a very low ADP. Maybe if you want to take a sleeper, maybe go after Logan Thomas. He's had some big fancy years before. He's coming off an injury. We know Carson Wentz has tight ends before, in Zach Ertz. There is a more talent in the offense. Jahan Dotson, I think, is going to have a decent rookie year. You also got Terry McLaurin, who got paid. He's an absolute monster out there. But Logan Thomas could be a little sleeper, especially for his ADP. You're not going to risk anything picking him up.
So my honorable mentions were Pat Freiermuth because I moved him out of 12. And then I had Cole Kmet and Hunter Henry as honorable mentions.
Hunter Henry's someone I also want to mention. He got a lot of red zone targets last year.
He's a safe pick.
Yeah. You can almost guarantee he's going to catch a touchdown once every other week at least.
Yeah, he'll get you your 5-6 points. He's safe. He's on the same level as Pat with me, kind of. I just don't like how Jonnu Smith's there, getting paid the same amount. But you can't do anything about it.
Yeah. So, I just want to go ahead and recap my tight ends list. Number 1, I had Travis Kelce. Number 2, Mark Andrews. 3, George Kittle. 4, Dalton Schultz. 5, Darren Waller. 6, Kyle Pitts. 7, Dallas Goedert. 8, T.J. Hockenson. 9, Zach Ertz. 10, Dawson Knox. 11, Cole Kmet. And number 12, Pat Freiermuth.
All right, and my top 12 tight ends for this season is 1, Mark Andrews. 2, Travis Kelce. 3, Kyle Pitts. 4, Darren Waller. Number 5, George Kittle. 6, Dalton Schultz. 7, Dawson Knox. 8, Zach Ertz. 9, Dallas Goedert. And 10, TJ Hawkinson. 11, Mike Gesicki. And 12, David Njoku.
All right. So that is it for the QBs and tight ends. Next week, do we go to wide receivers or running backs? That's gonna be an interesting one. We're gonna do one or the other.
I have 2 things I do want to ask you before we do wrap this up. Okay. So, one, I saw this TikTok today, and it was from guys we watch. It was, try to remember the name to give them the credit. Pick a side, okay? And it was an older TikTok, but it was them talking about Julio Jones and ranking him against receivers right now, 2022. So I want to ask you, and I thought these people's answers were fucking ridiculous, okay? So I want to ask you if Julio Jones is better than these receivers this year. That's what the question was, and I want to hear your answers to this, okay?
Are you talking about in real life or in fantasy?
In real life and in fantasy. It's basically both.
Okay.
T. Higgins.
No, he's not better. Absolutely not.
Thank you. One of them said Julio Jones. Okay. Let's go Michael Thomas.
No.
Say Michael Thomas or Julio Jones.
Michael Thomas.
Okay. Adam Thielen.
Thielen.
Thank you. Let's go Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper.
Thank you. Tyler Lockett.
Lockett.
Thank you. Mike Williams.
Mike Williams.
They said also Julio was better than Michael Williams this year. Brandon Cooks. Not fucking
Brandon
close.
Cooks.
Go ahead. Hunter Renfrow.
Renfrow.
Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Boyd, I think, yeah.
That's close, but I agree with you on that. Cortland Sutton.
Sutton.
Thank you. And we'll do like 2 more. Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith.
And Darnell Mooney.
Mooney.
Thank you. So I was watching this clip, and there was one guy that was realistic and said basically the same answers you did. But there was this guy that was like, had Julio over all of them. And I was blowing my fucking mind. I'm like, he does realize Julio's not on the Falcons anymore, right?
Yeah, I mean, Julio could have a bounce back year. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
like he was very hurt
Adam
last
Thielen?
year, but I mean, the T. Higgins one's crazy to me.
I think he said I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he said T. Higgins. I know for sure that he said Julio was better than Mike Williams, Cortland Sutton, and Adam Thielen.
Nah, I mean,
fucking crazy to me. I was watching and I was losing brain cells, truly. And this is a new segment I do want to add to the end of every podcast. It is called Random Questions with Final Pick Pod. And I'm going to ask you random questions every time we film a podcast. You got to answer them. You have to answer them, okay? And they're going to be rapid fire. All right?
Okay.
Are you sure you're ready?
I mean, I didn't know this, so.
Nope, I wasn't going to tell you. All right.
Yeah, you'll be ready for some stuff, though.
It's going to be some weird shit. Like I said, it is random, but they are sports related.
Okay, I was about to say.
They are sports related technically. Okay. Number 1, we're gonna ask 5 every episode. Okay. Dance off between Juju Smith-Schuster and Jackson Mahomes. Who wins?
Juju. What?
Okay. Who wins in a wrestling match? Tyler Linderbaum or Quentin Nelson?
Quentin Nelson.
Remember, Tyler Linderbaum was a all-state wrestler and beat Tristan Wirfs in a wrestling.
I don't care. It's Quentin Nelson.
Number 3. Do you think Russia accepts the Brittany Griner trade if we throw in 2 first-round picks?
I think they accept it either way.
They declined it, by the way. Who would you rather have Who would you rather have a sleepover with? O.J. Simpson or Aaron Hernandez?
Neither.
You got to choose one.
I said neither.
You got to choose one, Zach. That's the point of the game. You have to.
Sleepover? That's a weird question. A sleepover.
Sleepover, man. They're sleeping in your room. O.J. Simpson or Aaron Hernandez. Let me just say this. One was convicted. One wasn't.
You're asking some weird questions. Go on to the next one.
Answer it.
You got to answer it also.
O.J. Simpson, 100%.
I'll say Aaron Hernandez. I don't know.
Okay. Wow. All right. And last question. What hurt more as a Colts fan?
What was
Andrew
that?
Luck's retirement. What hurt more as a Colts fan? Andrew Luck's retirement or losing the playoffs to the Jacksonville Jaguars last year?
Um, Probably Luck's retirement.
All right. Well, I just wanted to know which one hurt you more. I'm just letting you know I have about 30 of these questions, and we're going to be asking 5 at the end of every episode. A lot are going to be more sports pick this, but I wanted to add some funny ones that were sports related in there as well.
Those were some weird ones. You're
They were.
asking what man I'd want to have sleep in my room.
Bro, what's wrong with that? First of all,
There's nothing
wrong?
wrong with it, but it's just a weird question to ask.
Nah,
on
it's a
sports
normal question to
podcast.
ask. I've asked it to 3 other people already to make sure it wasn't that weird. It's not that weird. Maybe it's weird for you because you don't have sleepovers, but we have sleepovers here, man.
All right, you do you. You do you.
All right.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this podcast. Make sure you guys, if you guys are watching on YouTube, make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe and like the podcast on YouTube. If you guys are listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, make sure you guys go ahead and leave a 5-star rating and follow the podcast. And go ahead down below, leave your top rankings for both QBs and tight ends. We will be coming back to you guys with, we'll probably do wide receivers next, maybe running backs. We'll do one of the two.
You might have to do one of those at a time because that's not something you can do top 12 in.
Oh, no, you're going to do like top 20, 25, something like that.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. And with that all being said, we'll catch you guys later.
See you guys. Peace.